The night sky above Earth rippled, as if reality itself were tearing open. Stars warped into jagged lines, and then the darkness filled with metal. One ship appeared, then another, and another, vast, spined silhouettes that swallowed starlight. Within minutes, a fleet loomed in orbit, so large it blotted constellations from view. Inside the Orbital Defense Command ship, Resolute, alarms shrieked through the decks. Commander Elena Ray stood on the bridge, her expression stone calm, while officers rushed between stations. Her dark hair was tied back, her posture steady, but her knuckles whitened against the railing as sensor readouts flooded in. Contacts confirmed. Dominion warships. Lieutenant Sato reported, voice tight. 70 vessels minimum. Largest displacement registers as Dreadnought class. The Dominion. Elena had studied their conquests in simulation chambers and intelligence briefings, but she had never expected to face them here, above her own world. Earth had remained neutral while the galaxy tore itself apart, watching from the shadows as alien empires burned each other in endless wars. Now the fire had come to their doorstep. Open a channel, Elena ordered. The holoscreen flickered. A towering figure appeared, scale skin the color of obsidian, armor etched with cruel glyphs, eyes burning with disdain. High Marshal Kareth, commander of the Dominion fleet. People of Earth, his voice rumbled, translated by the comm AI. Your world is unclaimed. Your fleets are insignificant. Kneel, and you may serve the Dominion with purpose. Resist, and you will be as scattered among the stars. A silence stretched across the bridge. Officers exchanged nervous glances. Some looked to Elena, others to the transmission, as if hoping one would blink first. Elena clasped her hands behind her back, her voice level. This is Commander Wraith of the Terran Defense Force. Earth is neutral. We are not part of your war, and we will not become part of it. Withdraw your fleet. Karetha's lip curled, exposing serrated teeth. Neutral, he repeated, as though tasting the word. A coward's excuse. The galaxy burns, and you hide in the ashes, thinking no flame will find you. He leaned forward until his scaled visage filled the screen. Neutrality ends when I say it ends. The transmission cut, without warning. The stars beyond the viewport glimmered coldly, their light swallowed by the Dominion's black hulls. Council request incoming, comms announced. Moments later, the bridge's central projector lit with the holographic forms of Earth's leaders, the Planetary Council, faces lined with fear and indecision. Chairman Valen spoke first. Commander Wraith, you will maintain restraint. We cannot provoke them. Perhaps if we show submission, they will pass us by. Pass us by? Elena's voice sharpened, though she kept her tone controlled. Chairman, they brought a war fleet to orbit. They didn't come to talk. They came to take. Counselor Daniel, his tone brittle, snapped. You have us fling our fleets into battle against a power that's crushed empires 10 times our size? Earth's survival depends on restraint, not defiance. Elena leaned closer to the holodeble, her eyes steady. Respectfully, Counselor, survival depends on readiness. If we show weakness, they'll carve this planet apart. Neutrality is no shield. It's a mask, and right now they're trying to rip it off. The council chamber fell into tense murmurs. Valen finally raised a hand. We will continue with diplomatic overtures. Commander Wraith, do not engage unless fired upon. That is an order. The holograms blinked out. For a moment, only the hum of the Resolute's engines filled the silence. Elena exhaled slowly, her jaw tight. She turned to her officers. Status: Dominion fleet holding low orbit, Sato reported. Weapons charged but not firing. Looks like they're waiting. Waiting for what? Elena wondered. Reinforcements? Fear? She felt the weight of it pressing against her chest. She walked to the viewport, staring at the unnatural silhouettes blotting out the stars. The Dominion believed humanity weak, believed Earth had chosen peace because it lacked the strength for war. They didn't know the truth. For decades, humanity had watched and prepared. Hidden shipyards in the asteroid belt, weapons labs buried under the Antarctic ice, fleets registered as exploration vessels, but armed with rail cannons capable of punching holes through moons. Neutrality had never meant ignorance. It had meant patience. But patience had limits. Elena spoke quietly, almost to herself. They think we're prey. Her officers turned, waiting for her command. Her gaze remained fixed on the alien fleet. Let's remind them what happens when you corner humanity. The neutral station Argus drifted above Earth like a jewel crown, its white spires gleaming in sunlight. It had been built as a symbol of peace, hosting envoys and trade delegations from friendly alien powers. Now its halls echoed with the heavy tread of armored Dominion guards, claws scraping against metal as they escorted their high marshal through the corridors. Commander Elena Wraith walked a step behind Earth's diplomatic envoy, her uniform immaculate, her sidearm hidden but ready. Every glance from Dominion soldiers radiated disdain. She forced her breathing steady, every muscle taut, as they entered the grand chamber. The Dominion delegation waited on the raised dais. At the center stood Kareth, a towering figure draped in war steel, his presence filling the chamber like a storm. He turned as the humans entered, lip curling into something between a sneer and a smile. Chairman Valen bowed stiffly, the weight of fear evident in his every motion. High Marshal Kareth, we are honored by your presence. Earth values peace. We ask that the Dominion respect our neutrality. Kareth let out a low laugh, the sound reverberating through the chamber. Peace, he said, savoring the word as if it were a delicacy he intended to spit out. You cling to it like children clutching toys. Do you not see? The galaxy is forged in war. Empires rise and fall in fire. Peace is an illusion. Elena kept her eyes locked on him, reading every gesture, every flicker of amusement in his gaze. Valen pressed on, voice wavering. Our fleets are defensive only. We have no quarrel with the Dominion, nor with your enemies. Earth offers trade, culture exchange, even resources, but not war. Karetha's grin widened, serrated teeth catching the light. Resources. Exchange. You speak like merchants, not warriors. You asked me to pass you by, to let you wallow in your fragile neutrality, while I carve empires from stars. His voice deepened, eyes narrowing. I did not come for trade. I came for obedience. The chamber fell silent. Valen faltered, opening his mouth, but Elena stepped forward. Her voice cut through the tension, calm but edged with steel. Earth will not kneel. Kareth turned his full attention to her now, curiosity flickering. And who are you, human, to speak so boldly? Commander Elena Wraith, Terran Defense Force. She held his gaze. I speak because this world is mine to defend. You will not enslave it. A ripple of laughter rolled through the Dominion delegation, cruel and mocking. Kareth raised a clawed hand, silencing them. He studied Elena as though she were an insect that had dared to sting. Bravery from a lesser species, he said softly. Amusing, but bravery without power is only noise. He gestured to one of his aides. The alien pressed a control, and the chamber's far wall flickered to life with a live transmission feed. Outside the station, Dominion cruisers pivoted, their cannons glowing red. Karetha's voice dropped to a growl. This is what happens to those who think words can stop fire. On the screen, one of Earth's civilian orbital platforms, home to 50,000 workers and families, erupted into flame. The blast shattered it into spinning fragments, glowing embers scattering across the void. The chamber shook from the shockwave, though the station's shields held. Gasps and cries filled the hall. Elena's breath caught, fury burning in her chest, but she forced her voice steady. You just murdered civilians. Karetha's eyes gleamed. Correction. I ended illusions. Now your people will learn the cost of defiance. Valen's face drained of color, words lost. The other counselors who had accompanied him stood frozen, horror-struck. Elena, however, stepped closer, fists clenched at her sides. You've made a mistake. Kareth tilted his head. Have I? Yes. Her voice was low, but every word carried. You think humanity weak because we sought peace. But when pushed, when bled, we do not break. We unite. And when we fight to the end. Karetha's expression hardened, his amusement fading into irritation. He turned sharply and strode from the chamber, Dominion guards falling in behind him. As he left, his voice echoed through the hall. then fight, and die. The chamber fell into a stunned silence. Valen sank into his seat, trembling hands clutching the armrests. This is catastrophe. We cannot oppose them. Their fleet dwarfs ours. They already declared war, Elena cut in, her voice like steel striking stone. Do you think they'll stop with one station? They'll burn cities next. They'll slaughter until nothing's left. Counselor Daniel shook his head furiously. We cannot reveal our full capabilities. If we fight openly, the galaxy will turn its eyes on Earth. Every empire will descend on us. We will be drowned. Elena stepped closer to the counselors, her gaze sharp. The galaxy is already watching. They just saw the Dominion destroy a civilian station above our homeworld. We cannot hide anymore. Neutrality is over. Silence settled like a shroud. The counselors exchanged fearful glances, their fear of exposure warring with the reality of survival. Finally, Valen whispered, if we fight, then we must win, quickly, decisively, or Earth will be crushed. Elena's jaw tightened. Then it's time we stop hiding what we built. Hours later, back aboard the Resolute, Elena stood in the war room. A holographic map of the solar system stretched before her, dotted with red enemy icons. She touched the control, and hidden blue markers blossomed into view. Asteroid shipyard disguised as mining colonies. Fleets of gunships buried in orbital shadows. Deep space refueling depots masked as research outposts. Her officers stared, some with awe, some with grim resolve. For decades, Elena said, her voice steady, we prepared in silence. The council wanted peace, but they also knew peace doesn't last. Every ship you see here was built for this moment. Every weapon hidden, every strategy refined, for the day someone forced our hand. She looked around the table, meeting each officer's gaze. That day is here. Lieutenant Sato straightened, his expression hard. Orders, Commander? Elena's eyes returned to the swarm of red markers pressing against Earth's orbit. We hold. We bleed them, but we don't show everything yet. Let Kareth think we're scrambling. Let him underestimate us one more time. A faint smile ghosted her lips, though it carried no warmth. Then, when he's overconfident, we'll remind him what humanity has been waiting for. The officers nodded, resolve settling over the room like armor. Outside, the fragments of the destroyed civilian station still glimmered against the stars, silent witten. The Dominion fleet spread across Earth's orbit like a steel net, each ship bristling with weapons that glowed faint red against the black. The sight alone was meant to break morale, an empire's dominance written across the stars. Commander Elena Wraith stood on the Resolute's command deck, the cool blue light of tactical displays reflecting in her eyes. Every officer was silent, waiting for her word. She felt the weight of 1 billion lives pressing down on her shoulders, but she let none of it show. Status, she ordered. Dominion cruisers holding high orbit. Their carriers are deploying strike craft. No movement on their capital ship, reported Lieutenant Sato. His jaw was clenched so tightly his voice was nearly a growl. They're daring us to flinch, Elena said quietly. Another officer, Ensign Hale, spoke from the comm station. Civilians are panicking. Every channel is filled with demands, evacuations, safety guarantees, promises we can't give. Elena exhaled, sharp and steady. Then it's time to stop hiding. She touched the command console. A signal pulsed across hidden relays, awakening weapons Earth had buried for decades. Across the solar system, dormant stations powered up, their cloaked cores unfolding into weapon arrays. Asteroid fields came alive, their rocky shells splitting open to reveal hangars stuffed with warships. Farther still, beyond Mars's orbit, deep space defense platforms shimmered into visibility as camouflage fields dropped. Each one carried cannons large enough to scar a battleship. Gasps filled the bridge. Even her own officers hadn't known the full scale of Earth's arsenal. My God, Sato whispered. How long? Long enough, Elena cut in. The Council wanted peace, but they knew better than to gamble Earth's survival. Now the galaxy will learn what neutrality bought us. The tactical map bloomed with blue icons as Earth's hidden fleet assembled. Carriers rose from disguised shipyards, their hulls marked with the insignia of the Terran Defense Force. Gunships slipped free of asteroid belts like predators stirring from hibernation. Elena straightened, broadcast to the Dominion flagship. Hale hesitated. Their comms are encrypted. Force it. Elena snapped. Static filled the air, then resolved into the jagged silhouette of High Marshal Kareth. His smirk returned the moment he saw her. So the insects bear their stingers. Impressive, but useless. You will still die screaming. Elena didn't blink. You destroyed a civilian station. 50,000 unarmed souls. That wasn't war, it was slaughter. You think that frightens us? It doesn't. It unites us. Kareth leaned closer, his eyes narrowing. You believe a hidden fleet makes you strong? We've burned empires with 10 times your number. Elena allowed herself a thin, cold smile. You've never fought humans. She cut the transmission before he could reply. The first clash came minutes later. Dominion fighters swarmed Earth's orbit, diving toward orbital habitats and defense satellites. But waiting for them were Terran gunships, sleek, angular craft with engines tuned for brutal acceleration. They burst from concealed hangars, their railguns spitting tungsten slugs that shredded Dominion formations. Targets neutralized, an officer called, voice shaking with adrenaline. But the victory was brief. A Dominion cruiser pivoted, its broadside cannons igniting in crimson arcs. A Terran platform disintegrated under barrage, a blossom of molten metal scattering into the void. Elena's hand tightened on the railing. Signal Fleet Command. All units, pattern Blackthorn. Draw them in close. Across the system, Terran ships shifted formation. Instead of standing off, they pulled back toward Earth, retreating deliberately, leaving what looked like openings in their defenses. The Dominion seized a chance, surging forward, hungry for the kill. Sato's eyes flicked toward her. You're baiting them. Exactly. As Dominion ships pushed deeper, they entered a field of orbiting debris, harmless wrecks from decades of launches and abandoned satellites. Except now, those husks lit up with targeting beacons. Hidden within them were mines, thousands of them, networked and waiting. The trap sprung. Explosions rippled across the Dominion vanguard as ships tore apart under coordinated detonations. Their neat formation shattered. Cheers erupted on the bridge. But Elena raised her hand sharply. Not yet. That was only the first cut. High Marshal Kareth watched from his flagship, his grin fading. The humans had bloodied his advance, something he had not expected from a species still untested in galactic war. Push the dreadnought forward, he ordered. His voice dropped to a growl. Show them what fire truly means. The dreadnought moved, a colossal wedge of armored steel, bristling with enough firepower to level continents. On the Resolute, alarms blared as the monster advanced. They're bringing in their capital ship, Sato said, voice tight. Elena studied the tactical map, her expression unreadable. Good. That's what we need. She tapped a new command. Far below, deep in Earth's crust, silo doors yawned open. For decades, their existence had been dismissed as Cold War relics. In truth, they had been rebuilt for the modern era. One by one, massive launch signatures lit up. Hypersonic kinetic lances roared into the sky, streaking upward on pillars of flame. The dreadnought fired, scarlet lances tearing through orbit, hammering Earth's defenses. Cities trembled as shields flickered. But then the kinetic lances struck, one after another, slamming into the dreadnought's forward armor. The ship reeled, plates shattered. Whole sections of hull peeled away like torn flesh. Impact confirmed, Sato shouted. They're hurting. But the dreadnought didn't fall. Its massive engines flared, stabilizing its position, and its main cannon charged again, brighter than the sun. Elena's pulse thundered in her ears. All remaining batteries, focus fire. Don't give the chance. The Resolute's guns roared. So did every Terran vessel within range. Beams, slugs, and missiles streaked across the void in a relentless storm. The Dominion dreadnought tried to fire. Its main cannon flickered, then collapsed on itself as a barrage caved in its forward decks. A final, shuddering explosion tore through its spine. The dreadnought split in half, its corpse drifting silently toward Earth's atmosphere, breaking into fiery fragments. The bridge went still. Then cheers erupted, raw and unrestrained. For the first time in galactic history, the Dominion had lost a capital ship in battle to humanity. Elena didn't cheer. She stared at the tactical display, watching the Dominion fleet regroup. There were still dozens of cruisers, carriers, destroyers. Too many to call the day one. "They'll come harder now," she said quietly. "Kareth won't retreat. Not after this. He'll bleed every ship he has just to prove humans aren't untouchable." Sato turned to her. "So, what do we do?" She met his gaze, her own steady as iron. "We show him that Earth is no one's prey. We don't just fight. We hunt." Far away, aboard his flagship, Kareth gripped the railing hard enough to dent steel. His eyes burned with fury, but also something new, something alien to him. "Doubt. Humans," he whispered, voice low and dangerous. "What are you?" The wreckage of the Dominion dreadnought still burned across the upper atmosphere, streaks of fire trailing as fragments fell like dying meteors. To Earth, it was a sign of hope. To the Dominion fleet, it was an insult too great to leave unpunished. On the bridge of the Resolute, Commander Elena Wraith stood at the central console, studying the tactical projection. Red icons multiplied as Dominion reinforcements entered the system from hyperspace. Their numbers doubled within minutes. New contact confirmed. Lieutenant Sato reported grimly. 2 additional carriers, 3 heavy cruisers, multiple destroyer wings. They're forming up for a coordinated push. "They won't make the same mistake twice," Elena said. Her voice carried no fear, but every officer felt the tension sharpen. Ensign Hale adjusted his headset. "Civilian networks are begging for updates. They want to know if the fight is won." "Tell them the truth," Elena replied. "It's only just begun." On the Dominion flagship, High Marshal Kareth loomed over his captains. Rage simmered in his every movement. "You let prey draw blood," he snarled. His claws scraped across the metal railing. "That will not happen again. This species thinks themselves hunters. We will remind them what it means to kneel." One captain hesitated. "Marshal, their defenses are unlike anything recorded. Charging headlong may." Kareth's strike was sudden. His claw tore across the captain's throat. The officer crumpled without a sound. Kareth's gaze swept the others. "No hesitation. No retreat. You will tear their cities from the sky. Their screams will echo through the void." Back aboard the Resolute, Elena gathered her senior staff in the war room. The hollow table displayed Earth at the center, surrounded by the swirling formation of red Dominion ships. "They outnumber us 3-1, Sato said, his face pale. "That's been true since the beginning," Elena countered. She tapped the display, highlighting Dominion supply routes leading from the edge of the system. "Their weakness isn't numbers, it's logistics. These ships don't sustain themselves. Every salvo, every fighter launch drains their reserves." Hale leaned forward. "You're suggesting we hit their supply line?" "Exactly. A counterstrike." Elena's tone hardened. "They expect us to huddle around Earth, desperate to survive. Instead, we'll cut their throat where they don't expect it, far from their guns." Sato frowned. "Pulling ships from defense leaves Earth exposed. If their main fleet presses the attack, they'll attack regardless," Elena said. "But if we don't strike back, we'll drown in wave after wave until the planet burns. We take the risk or we lose everything." For a moment, silence filled the room. Then Sato nodded slowly. "Then we bleed them dry." The strike force launched undercover debris fields and sensor jammers. 3 Terran carriers, 6 cruisers, and a wing of fast corvettes slipped away from Earth's orbit, engines flaring only in brief pulses to avoid detection. Captain Marcus Vey commanded the Indomitable, leading the strike. A career officer, his grizzled face showed no fear, only determination. "Remember," he told his crew, "the Dominion believes us cornered. Tonight, we prove we are anything but." The fleet vanished into black, angling toward the Dominion supply lines. Meanwhile, Kareth unleashed his fury. Dominion ships advanced in relentless waves, hammering Earth's orbital defenses. Terran platforms fought savagely, railguns glowing from constant fire, missile silos launching until empty. Civilian stations scrambled to shelter behind planetary shields, their lights dimmed to conserve power. On the Resolute, alarm screamed. Shields at 60%. Hale shouted, "We've lost Grid Station 12. Enemy destroyers breaching inner orbit. Redirect gunships to intercept." Elena ordered. She gripped the console, her knuckles white. Every second was survival bought with blood. The counterstrike had to succeed, or all of this was for nothing. Far from the chaos, Captain Vey's task force reached its target. The Dominion supply convoys stretched across the void. Massive haulers, fuel carriers, and ammunition barges, lightly escorted by 2 cruisers and a handful of corvettes. To the Dominion, the convoy was secure. No prey had ever dared strike so deep behind the lines. Targets acquired, Vey said, his voice carried through the fleet channel. No quarter. Terran ships emerged from stealth, weapons blazing. The first volley tore into an ammunition barge, igniting it in a catastrophic blast. Fire spread to the convoy as rail slugs ripped into fuel carriers. The escorting Dominion cruisers scrambled to respond, but the Terran corvettes darted between them, cutting engines and weapon systems with precision strikes. Within minutes, the convoy was a graveyard of burning hulks. Supplies that would fuel the Dominion siege for weeks were gone in less than an hour. "Strike complete," Vey reported, his voice steady. "The Serpent's Head is starving." Back near Earth, the Dominion offensive faltered. Ships slowed, forced to ration fuel and ammunition. The relentless barrage weakened. On the Resolute, Hale's voice broke with relief. "Their fire is dropping. Long-range barges are ceasing." Sato blinked. "They're running dry." He turned to Elena. "The strike worked." Elena allowed the faintest smile. "Then we take advantage. Order every ship forward." We turned defense into pursuit. Terran vessels surged out from their defensive line, counterattacking with ferocity. Dominion cruisers, suddenly vulnerable, fell back under coordinated fire. One after another, red icons winked out on the tactical map, but Kareth did not yield. On his flagship, his voice thundered across the comms. "Hold your ground. You think this war ends because your bellies are empty? No, you fight until the last breath, until their world burns." His ships obeyed, but discipline fractured. Some formations scattered. Others fought to the death, unwilling to retreat. The battle stretched through the night. Space itself seemed alive with fire, ships reduced to ash and wreckage, silence swallowing each explosion. At dawn over Earth, the Dominion fleet still hung in orbit, but its power was broken. Their numbers were slashed, their supply line crippled, their momentum shattered. On the Resolute, Elena stood among exhausted officers. None cheered. They knew victory was not final. Sato spoke quietly. "They'll call for reinforcements. This isn't the end." "No," Elena agreed. Her voice was steel. "But now they know we don't just defend, we strike. We make them bleed for every inch. And when their reinforcement arrive, we'll be ready." She looked out the viewport, where wreckage drifted in the pale light of Earth's sunrise. "For the first time in centuries," she whispered, "humanity has reminded the stars. We are predators too." The silence after the battle was deceptive. Wreckage drifted across orbit, metal husks glinting in the cold sunlight. Fires burned in the atmosphere where fragments had fallen. To Earth's people, it looked like victory. To Commander Elena Wraith, it felt like the eye of a storm. She stood on the Resolute's bridge, hands clasped behind her back, staring at the tactical projection. Dominion ships still hovered in the system, fewer now, but not broken. They lingered like predators circling, waiting for reinforcements. Long-range sensors confirmed hyperspace disturbances. Lieutenant Sato reported. His voice carried a weary edge. "More are coming." "How many?" Elena asked. Sato hesitated. "At least 2 full fleets. Possibly 3. The bridge went quiet. Even the hum of the ship felt heavier. Ensign Hale finally broke the silence. "If they throw that much at us, we can't hold, even with what's left." Elena turned. Her gaze swept across a crew, Men and women who had fought through endless hours, who carried exhaustion in their faces but fire in their eyes. "No," she said firmly. "We can't hold forever. But we don't need forever. We need one decisive blow." On the Dominion flagship, High Marshal Kareth prepared his warriors. His body bore the scars of rage, his voice a growl that shook the chamber. "Pray, dares resist," he told them. "They cut our supply lines. They bloodied us. But their defiance is nothing but desperation. One strike will crush them." His officers answered with guttural roars. Yet beneath their obedience, cracks showed. Supplies were thin. Crews were stretched. Morale strained. Kareth ignored the weakness. Only domination mattered. "Summon the reinforcements," he commanded. "We end this world before the next sun sets." The Terran High Command convened in a secure chamber deep beneath the Earth's surface. Generals, admirals, and civilian leaders argued fiercely over flickering holograms. "Evacuation is impossible," one general snapped. "We don't have the ships." "Then negotiate," a senator shouted. "Buy time. Offer concessions." "No." Elena's voice cut through the noise. All heads turned as her image appeared on the hollow feed. "Negotiation is surrender. The Dominion doesn't want peace. They want humanity erased. There's only one choice: fight and finish this." The chamber fell silent. "What do you propose?" an admiral asked cautiously. Elena leaned forward. "We don't wait for their reinforcements to arrive. We strike now. We target the flagship. Cut off the head and the body collapses." The room erupted again, half in protest, half in support. Elena didn't flinch. "This is not about survival anymore," she said. "It's about proving that humanity will never kneel. If we kill Kareth, the Dominion loses not just a commander, but their symbol of fear. Break that, and they break with it." Her words hung heavy. At last the admiral spoke. "Then God help us, we aim for the throat." Preparations moved with ruthless speed. Every remaining ship was refitted for one objective: punch through the Dominion line and reach the flagship. It was madness, but everyone knew it was the only chance. Captain Marcus Vey of the Indomitable addressed his crew. His voice was steady, even calm. "Tomorrow we fight not for territory, not for survival. We fight so no empire ever dares look at humanity as prey again." Across Earth, messages flooded the networks. Families recorded farewells. Soldiers sharpened their resolve. There was fear, but deeper still, a defiance that burned brighter than despair. The final battle began with dawn. The Dominion reinforcements emerged from hyperspace in blinding arcs of light. Their numbers blotted out the stars. Kareth's flagship led the charge, a Leviathan of black steel and crimson fire. Terran ships rose to meet them, smaller but unbroken. The void erupted in fury. Rail slugs streaked across darkness. Fighters clashed in swarms, weaving death between capital ships. Explosions flared like dying suns. On the Resolute, Elena stood unshaken amid the chaos. "Keep formation tight," she ordered. "We carve a path to flagship. Nothing else matters." Enemy cruisers closing. Hale shouted. "Target engines, not hulls." Elena snapped. "We're not here to trade kills. We're here to break through." Terran ships drove forward, leaving trails of fire and ruin. The cost was brutal. Destroyers shredded by barges, carriers torn apart by swarming fighters. But the formation pressed on. Kareth watched from his command throne as human ships clawed their way toward him. "Fools," he snarled. "They hurl themselves into the jaws of death. Obliterate them." Dominion cannons unleashed storms of plasma. Entire Terran wings vanished in the blaze. Yet the humans did not stop. They pressed closer, like wolves tearing at a giant. The Indomitable was first to breach the flagship's guard. "Direct all fire on their forward shield array." Captain Vey roared. His crew obeyed, unleashing a storm of kinetic strikes. The Dominion's defenses shuddered. "Shields collapsing," a lieutenant cried. But the price was heavy. A plasma lance ripped through the Indomitable's hull. Flames roared through its decks. "Captain, we can't hold." Vey smiled grimly. "Then we take them with us." He slammed his hand on the console. All power to engines. Ramming speed. The Indomitable, burning, broken, drove itself into the Dominion flagship. The impact tore a wound across its armored hull, fire spilling into the void, gap in her defenses. Sato shouted aboard the Resolute. Elena seized the moment. All ships, focus fire. That breach is our chance. Terran cannons thundered. Missiles screamed into the wound. The Dominion flagship reeled, shields failing, armor cracking. On its bridge, Kareth roared in fury. Sparks showered from ruptured conduits. His officers trembled. Seal the breach. Fight them back. But panic spread. Crews faltered. Fear replaced obedience. Elena's voice rang out over comms. This is humanity's world. You will never take it from us. The Resolute launched its final salvo. Missiles pierced the flagship's core. For one breathless instant, the massive vessel seemed to hang in defiance. Then it erupted in a blinding inferno. The shock wave rippled across the battlefield. Dominion ships faltered. Some broke ranks. Others fled. Without Kareth, their unity dissolved. As silence reclaimed orbit, Terran ships floated amid the wreckage. Smoke rose from shattered hulls, but Earth still turned below, unbroken. On the Resolute, the bridge crew sat in stunned quiet. Then Hale whispered, voice hoarse, "We did it!" Sato exhaled shakily. Kareth is gone. They're scattering. Elena allowed herself a long breath. It's over for now. She looked out the viewport, where the burning carcass of the Dominion flagship drifted, breaking apart into the void. This war has cost us dearly, she said softly, but it has given us something too. A warning to the stars. Her eyes hardened. Humanity is no one's prey. Not anymore.